We move now from discussions on things like health care reform to a discussion about those who practice health care. Doctors. Our next guest says we sometimes put physicians on pedestals, but he's compiled a book that reminds us they are just people. The book is White Coat Wisdom, and it is filled with, quote, extraordinary doctors who talk about what they do, how they got there, and why medicine is so much more than a job. The author is a former Wisconsin Public Radio reporter who also did a stint as the public Relations Director for the State Medical Society. Welcome to Steve Busalacchi, who joined us from La Crosse. And Steve, thanks a lot for doing so.
Oh, my pleasure, Frederica. Good to be here.
Are you on a book tour up there?
Yeah, we announced the book yesterday here in La Crosse at Franciscan Skemp Healthcare. We had a wonderful turnout of physicians and staff and did a book signing at a store this morning. Had a nice turnout there as well.
So how is the book being received?
You know, people have been really positive. I kind of thought they would enjoy it because it's really story-based. It isn't a technical book with a lot of medical jargon at all. It's physicians telling their stories and talking about what motivated them to become doctors. And they see so many interesting things in their line of work that they just make for natural storytellers. What's
the overriding thing you think that readers will learn from the book?
Well, I think the overriding theme, Frederica, is that you can find professional fulfillment through service to others, and that's what these doctors exemplify every day. It's not the paycheck, it's this relationship that they have with patients. They absolutely find that sacred, and they love getting to know people, and just the feeling of helping to heal someone and save someone's life is just something incalculable, and they're just so passionate about it, and it comes through in the book really well.
What are some of your favorite highlights, like the surgeon who had to overcome getting faint at the sight of blood? What are some others?
Sure. I have a surgeon in the book who says that he performed his own vasectomy. I mean, can you imagine? And I said, what in the world would possess you to do something like that? And he said, well, back then, back in the 60s, it was illegal to perform a vasectomy, and he already had a beautiful family, and he said, you know, they just didn't want to have any more kids. So he and a colleague went into the office, and he's the surgeon, so he did himself, and then he did the physician colleague, too, at the same time. All the while, this doctor, the other doctor, they're both doctors, but the other doctor passes out while the guy's doing his own vasectomy. It just sounded like something surreal. It had to be true. It was too crazy not to be.
Well, we've also asked you to come along and read a little bit out of your book. Can you do that for us?
Oh, I'd be happy to. One of the doctors here in La Crosse is Dr. Dennis Kostakis. He's a neonatologist, which is really a subspecialty of pediatrics. He saves these tiny little babies, 1.5 pounds, 2 pounds. It's unbelievable. Well, Dr. Kostakis was involved with the discovery of a test to get an enzyme called biotinidase. So he refers to that. I'll just read a brief passage here. I felt pretty good in the early 90s that John Wolfe and I pushed for Wisconsin to check every child for biotinidase. At the time, that was very radical. We were one of 19 states that started doing it. Now I think everybody does it. It was because I had gotten a patient from another state transferred where I figured it out. And I said, this has got to be happening to Wisconsin kids, too. And after a long struggle, including with legislators in Madison, we got it put on the state screen. We found 1 or 2 kids the first year, and then we were able to treat family members. We saved 8 lives the first year for 50 cents a blood test.
Wow.
I just love that. That's the Wisconsin story. Dr. Kostakis really believes in his heart that when physicians discover something in their own practice, they are duty-bound to explain it to their colleagues across the state and across the country so they can help their patients, too. This guy's one of the most passionate physicians I've ever met, and I had to feature him in the book. It's just a great chapter.
Now, you say that it was kind of, well, not kind of, it was very difficult to decide which doctors to include because in your work you've known so many, and everywhere you went people would say, oh, you got to interview this doc, he or she is just awesome. So my question is, after all of the work that you have done on this, do you have another volume or 2 in you?
I don't even want to think about it. I'm used to working on like 8-hour deadlines. I bang it out and I go on to the next thing. This I've been working on for 3.5 years. So to hold this book in my hand, I want to savor that for a while before I even try and entertain the idea of another book.
Well, it's really great stuff. Steve Busalacchi, thanks very much for sharing it with us.
My pleasure, Fred. Thank you.